Hello everybody, and welcome to Gregg's Vintage Workshop, where I'm working to restore history one piece at a time. So we finally finished the multifunction panel MFP project. So now it's time to get on to my next project, which my next project I kind of shot you a picture of in the last video, which is the 1942 Model 42340 Philco that my wife's nephew picked up for $25 and asked me if I would restore it for him. Now the radio itself, from an appearance standpoint, has been very well taken care of. It almost looks new. It's not going to need much at all as far as external, but because it's 1942, this was during the war era, and these radios typically have the rotten rubber wire syndrome, so it very well could be that this radio will be no different. I haven't looked into it yet, so we're going to see together what it looks like. But that's what we're going to start, and so without further ado, let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so this is the Philco 42340. This is a super heterodyne set that picks up broadcast as well as police and shortwave. It's a 7-tube radio. It has a complement of tubes, 7B5 output tube, a 7C6 tube, a 7B7 tube, two 7B7 tubes actually, and two 7A4 XXL tubes. It also has a 7Y4 tube. It's a code 121, which I think that means it has some modifications on it. It's the intermediate frequency, 455 kilocycles, and then the tuning bands are 540 to 720 kilocycles and 9 to 15 megacycles. And puts out like 1.5 watts on the audio output. This particular radio was made where it could either be operated on 115 volts at 60 cycles or 115 volts at 25 cycles by changing wiring on the power transformer. This one hopefully is set up for the 60 cycles, and we'll obviously check that out. But as you can see here, the cabinet's in beautiful condition. This radio was well taken care of. I mean, there's barely any blemishes whatsoever. I mean, any little blemish that's on this thing I'll easily be able to touch up with a touch-up pen and blend it in, and then I'll probably just go over it with a clear coat of the Howard Restorer. You know, they have the Howard Restorers in the various colors, but they also have it just in natural neutral, and I think that's probably what I'll go over it with. My nephew said he doesn't want to really change the appearance of it, and he's very happy with the way it looks. I mean, it doesn't even really have anything. I mean, a little bit right here to be touched up, and obviously cleaned. But overall, it's in really nice condition as far as the cabinetry is concerned. So here's the on-off switch. It feels stiff. It obviously needs to be cleaned. This is likely the volume switch, and I was thinking that one of these also controlled the tone. I'll have to look a little closer at it. This, I think it was on the on-off switch, but this doesn't feel like it has enough rotation for that. And then this should be the broadcast or the shortwave switch, and then of course the tuning dial, which looks like the cord is still in good shape because I see everything moving. Dial pointer's moving quite well. Now the one thing I did notice, depending upon the way the light hits this, is this bezel glass looks very crystallized looking, and I think it's from the back side. So I got to be very careful with this glass, because what I don't want to do is destroy any of the numbers or letters or anything on here. I can see right here the 10 is missing just a little bit, so I got a feeling that's like flaking off, and I might have to just try and maybe shoot some clear coat on the back to kind of preserve it so nothing else comes off of it. It feels like it's all imprinted from the back side, so I should be able to clean the front side with no problem. Philco decal looks really nice on there. I'm going to keep that original. The faux finish down here on the bottom looks pretty good. It's got kind of a scratch right here, but I don't know that I'll do anything with it. I mean, this radio is 80 years old, and for the way it looks, it's pretty amazing. So let me get it turned around. We'll take a look at the inside. Okay, so here's the back, and as you can see, this radio has one of those low impedance aerial antennas on it. That is what it's meant to operate on. It looks really clean. It doesn't look like it's been, I mean, it's got dust, but it doesn't look rusty, and it doesn't look like it's had rodents in there chewing on anything or peeing on anything, because I see no rust or corrosion in this thing. It looks beautiful. But if this cord is any indication, which looking at that plug looks original, if this cord is any indication of what the wiring inside the radio looks like, we're in for a bunch of work, because if you guys can see this cord, it's like just falling completely apart. So like I said, this is from the era where the rubber was not so good. Even the part that attaches down inside there, the strain relief is rotten. Let me zoom in a little bit, see what else we can see in here. Get you guys up close. Get an idea of what I'm seeing. Let me get a light on the subject here, maybe. There we go. A little light. So as you guys can see in here, I mean, there's not really any cobwebs or anything going on inside of here. It looks very, very clean, other than, like I said, the dust, which is to be expected. Obviously, it's been sitting around for 80 years, but I think this has been well taken care of. I see a little bit of a cobweb over there on the right-hand side, but overall, I'm pretty happy with what I see. I'm not going to say anything about easy restoration, because we know how that all goes. So back here in the back corner, you can see that's the transformer. It's in a can. This is beyond the tar days, so there shouldn't be any tar in this. I guess the next step's going to be to go ahead and pull it out and set the cabinet aside so it can't get damaged. I mean, the cabinet barely even has any chips or anything on the back. I see a little bit right here at the top, and right here. You know, there's a little chipping right there, and that's it. This is a very beautiful radio. I think he did a good job picking it up for $25. So, okay, let me get you situated so that you can watch me pull this thing apart. Okay, so first thing I did was I cut that ratty wire off. Next thing I need to do is take this aerial loop antenna out so it doesn't get damaged. So we'll take the screws off, or loosen them. These look like spade connectors, so it should just be a matter of loosening them and getting them loose that way. Screwdriver was almost too big. Now, these wires are cloth and they feel okay. I got a little parts tub I made here. I'm going to put these screws in. A little Phillips head screw. Phillips head wood screw. Looks like it's going into the little rivets. So nothing there. Looks like one right here. The head is stripped, or I don't see the. Yeah, it's just my eyes. I didn't see it. There it is. Alright, now we'll turn it around and get the knobs off the front and the screws out the bottom. Each of these knobs has a little spring in there that keeps it, a spring clip that keeps it tight on the shaft. Okay, so I got the two screws out from the bottom. Let's see if we can get this pulled out. Should be loose now. Definitely full of dust in there. Let me set this down and we'll take a look inside the cabinet. Get a little light shining in there. A lot of dust in there. But you know, it's still dry. It's dry though. It's 80 years of, 80 years of stuff. I don't really see much as far as critter activity or anything. It looks pretty good. Obviously we'll blow that out, but I'm impressed so far. Even the grill cloth, I meant to tell you guys before, the grill cloth in this thing looks amazing too. It's not stained, it's not torn. Let me get this cabinet out of the way so I can get covered up so it doesn't get damaged, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I got the cabinet over where it's going to be safe from the cats, and now we can get a better look at the chassis. So the chassis, although it's dusty, actually looks pretty clean. It's got some of the oxide on here that we see, the yellow. That'll clean up pretty good, but it doesn't look too bad. Speaker looks really good. I don't see any evidence of insect damage. I see a couple little teeny specks right there, but I held light to the back of that and there was no light coming through, so the speaker seems to be in excellent condition. No rubbing and nice and flexible. Amazing. Okay, I don't have you in the tripod because I figured it'd be easier to show you this with hand holding, so hopefully I don't make you too dizzy. But here it is. Like I said, I haven't done anything to clean this up yet at all. It's just dust. Everything I see looks just like dust. No rust. No critter damage. Dial cord's intact. I mean, obviously, top stuff is just a thorough cleaning, but I think it's going to clean up really, really nice. Even the transformer can has no rust on it. I did look in the list. I see it does have some silver mica in it, so hopefully it doesn't have silver mica disease. Alright, let me get you back on the tripod and we'll flip this thing up. Well, I have to tell you, I think that this radio is completely untouched, and that's amazing to me. And I'm very happy about that, because the last thing I need, being the hack that I am, is one that's been jerry-rigged around. But this thing still looks fully original. It's got the cap here. It looks like 2 8 microfarads in there. I'll tell you what, when I looked in here, I was actually pretty amazed, because the wiring is actually not in bad shape. A lot of it's cloth. There is some rubber, but the rubber seems to be fairly flexible still. That one's kind of hard there, but all in all, not bad at all. Now, I actually had contemplated going ahead and putting some power to it just to see what happens, but I think I'm going to go ahead and change these electrolytics first anyway, because this one's got some goop coming out the end of it. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. You can see right here, there's some goop coming out the end of it, so I'm not going to chance that. So I'm going to go ahead and put some new caps in this. So let me go ahead and check a couple of things on this thing first, but I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think we'll go ahead and check the transformer first, primary and secondary, just to make sure that it's not open. And we'll check a couple of things, and then I'll change those 2 main caps and we'll put some power to it and see what it does. I was just going to show you guys, I just got through blowing this thing off with air. I haven't even wiped it. I just blew it off with air, and I want to just show you how good a condition that this thing is in. Very impressed. Moose is bothering my hand bumping the camera, so I apologize for the bouncy camera. Okay, you guys can see I've got it in the chassis holder now. I did put some cardboard over the speaker to keep from causing harm to it. We're going to rotate this thing to where I can see it, to work on it, and to where you can see it, and I'll get you in closer. Okay, so we're going to check a couple things while we're here before we get started. First thing I'm going to check is going to be the primaries of the transformer, which I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this because it's so small, but I'm having trouble seeing it. My meter's shutting off. So we can pretty much go across the plug to check our primaries, and according to this, when we look at it under my magnifier, we should be getting about 18 ohms. Now that's assuming that the switch is any good. I got a feeling the switch is not going to be any good. It almost looks like the switch has had something, like it was originally here and somebody moved it to here. This one looks like it's been hot. And this doesn't look very factory right here. So let's turn the meter on. Okay, so let's check. We're going to check the primary, which according to the schematic is at 18 ohms. And we got 1836. So that's good. That's really close. So 1836, we know the primary is good. Now, let's take a look at the secondary, which when we look at the schematic, we can check that on the 7Y4 tube across the plates, which is the 2 green wires, and the plates are 3 and 6. So let's say 7A4 right here, get some light on it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we got 747 ohms, which if we look at the schematic, let's see, it says it should be 400 on the one side and 350 on the other, so it's 750. So 747 to 750 sounds pretty darn good. Okay, so let's have a look at this output transformer. According to the schematic, it says it should be 800 ohms. So let's go check it out. Let's see what we got. 800 ohms. We got 725.8. So that's good. So that transformer's good. Alright. While we're in here and can check things halfway, let's look at the first IF transformer. We're going to take a look at the first IF transformer here, right here. And we're going to go between the white and the red, which should be about an ohm. And then we'll go between the green and the blue, which should be 22 ohms according to the schematic. So let's see, white and red. There is the white right here. Here's the red right here. 1.0 is supposed to be 1 ohm, so that's good. And then the blue and the green should be 22 according to the print. And we got 22.67, so that's good. Alright, that's all we're going to look at right now. I want to get a couple of parts changed. I am going to change a couple of wires. All of these are pretty soft in here, but I found this red wire here is hard as a rock. The green one there, that's the one I was thinking of, is pretty hard. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 safety caps in this. Should be 0.01 if I remember correctly from the schematic. We're going to go ahead and replace the safety caps on there, put a power cord on it. I'm going to change a couple of the hard wires and put some new electrolytics in it, and then I think we're just going to power it up and see what it does. I don't want to be doing wholesale changes of parts in here until I see what it does, because this thing was so clean it may work. I mean, other than the electrolytics, everything seems to be checking okay, and I don't want to induce an issue if there's not an issue. But I want to, and then we'll change the caps ultimately, just because they're old and decrepit. So let me do a little of that, and we'll come back. Okay, so I was just checking what I have in stock of the various capacitors I need, and I'm missing a few. I'm not even close on some of these. I'm going to have to put in an order to Sal's Capacitor Corner and get me some capacitors, so that's probably going to take at least a week for those to come in. I think I'm going to go ahead and end part 1 on this Philco 42340 right now, and we'll pick it back up once I get the additional parts that I need for it. I typically check, make sure I got parts before I start one, but I didn't on this one. And it came back and bit me in the butt. So anyway, from Greg at Gregg's Vintage Workshop, thank you for watching.